Hi everyone, this is Grace, and today I'm going to walk you through how I made this Cutie party set. So let's go. This is one of my newest classes that I launched this summer, and it is a series. Well, it's not a series. It's part of a handful of classes that I'm calling my party classes, because what I've done is I've used a theme. Like, this theme is cuties, aka oranges, and then I have created a whole bunch of different custom letterings to go with the themes so that you can actually use this class for a whole bunch of different parties. So baby shower, birthday, like child's birthday. I believe this one is... Oh my gosh, hold on a second. Yes, okay, thank you. Using my brain. So Miss to Mrs. is in here, which means it can be a bridal shower. There's a let's party, so it can just be a general party theme. And then you don't even have to use the lettering at all if you don't want to. That's completely optional. Like, it's a beautiful standalone set on its own. So let's get into the actual designs, because I'm so excited to share this. Now, this first design might be a little confusing. It's okay, I'll explain it to you. So, the original inspiration for this one comes from the designs I see a lot for little cutie themes, so like baby shower themes. The top of this is a really sweet, pun intended, wet on wet orange, because I wanted to, of course, do oranges in different ways for this set. Cuties are, for anyone that's not aware, like cuties is the brand name for, I think, mandarin oranges. I don't know. We're doing a wet on wet one here. We are doing a 3D orange slice later, and then a like outside of an orange. So we're covering all the bases here. This is half orange and half onesie. I know it doesn't look like that, obviously. Like, okay, back it up here, Grace. This whole set is on circles because you know me, I love me a one shape set. So because of that, something like this might make a little less sense, but I still think it's cute. If you don't like it, that's okay. You can make the entire thing just that orange. I originally had these as two separate designs, but I was like, it's too many designs in the set, and I just wasn't willing to let go of either of them. So I just combined them into two, which I think looks super freaking cute. This little zigzag border, by the way, is a beautiful way to just cover up any wonkiness of the seams between the green and the orange. Y'all know me. I love me some design elements that cover up mistakes. We're rocking a soft peak here, so that zigzag might not be super pronounced in texture, and that's fine. Totally fine. Sweet little dots here. Because it is a soft peak, I don't have to worry too much about peaks on the actual dots themselves. I'm not one to settle them. And then this is also a soft peak. And I'm just doing a pressure piped technique to get the little seeds out. Like so. Et voila. That's the first one. I know it's a weird one to start with, but whatever. Okay. So for some of these, I skipped just like the outlining and the flooding. I outline with a soft peak, let that dry for about 10 minutes, and then I flood in with my thin flood. This one you want to let dry for like 1 to 2 hours. The technique that we're doing on top of this, the drier the base, the better, because we want to prevent craters here. I'm not going to lie, like, this is a simple looking design, but it is not easy. Getting this outline just right is like a little miracle. Remember to breathe, because I know I had to say that to myself when I was doing this. I think what's most important is that you follow the shape of the cookie with these outlines, and that might mean that your cookie is not a perfect circle. Neither is mine, by the way. But it's going to look weirder if you're trying to, like, I think if you're trying to pipe a circle Anyway, does that make sense? Okay. This part is really hard. And maybe if I had more of a brain, I might have tried to do something to help myself out. The goal here is to do 8 sections. There's definitely at least one cookie, maybe 2, where I think I accidentally did 9 and I might have done 7. Because my approach here is just make them evenly placed. And if you end up doing 5, fine. If you do 6, fine. 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, just make them evenly placed, more or less centered. And yeah, make sure that there's white space in between them, because that's part of like the aesthetic of the effectiveness of the design. I am using 2 different oranges here, which, yeah, you could see that in the previous cookie too. So I did like a dark orange and a light orange, and then one color green, and sorry, my brain, like, I just get so excited because I was like, I really need to do a beginner version of this too, because that would be so cute. Okay. This is it. This is the hole poking. This is to prevent craters. I do not understand the science behind why this works, but y'all, it works, okay? It just works. I'm using a smaller scribe here because the spaces I'm doing this in are relatively small, but I do find that like you really want to poke holes in it. So if you have a slightly bigger scribe, have at it. Although if your icing is not quite dry enough, you really have to be careful, because you could like puncture too much of the surface of the icing. This icing here is quite dry, which is what allows me to really poke with some vigor. Am I going to do all of them at the same time? Yes, I am. Okay. I think in class though, I teach you to do like 4 at a time. I can work pretty quickly because we're about to do a wet on wet technique. But if you are one to not work as quickly, and or maybe your icing is a little bit on the thicker side, like you're going to want to not do all 8 at the same time, because with wet on wet, you're always working against the clock, because you have to finish it before the icing crusts. The key here, one of the many keys here to the success of this design, is to get the icing into all the little corners. You're going for the most seamless look as possible. So that's what I'm starting with. And then I'm adding in what's going to be the wet on wet detail. Okay. The point here is to just mess this up. Like, it's just supposed to look messy. Nothing more than that. Mess, mess, messy, messy, mess, mess. I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Nothing crazy. And then the outside of the orange, this is just the darker orange. I like to just go in one fell swoop around the whole thing, instead of doing like, I don't know, 2 lines or something. That would just hurt my brain. It's just so satisfying. Like, so satisfying. You can see there, the sections in the center are not all the same, and they're fine, okay? All right, so this one, again, I skipped outlining it with a piping consistency, let that crust. I filled this in with the thin flood in the dark orange, and then I'm adding in immediately this wet on wet highlight in the lighter orange color. This is going to get partially covered up by a few different design elements, so you don't have to like be crazy about getting this too perfect. Okay, so I let that dry for, I don't know, like an hour. And then I'm going in with the leaves, which again, you can see here. So like I said, it's going to get partially covered up. I honestly was not 100% sure how it was going to look to do the leaves on a circle like this, because when you see this kind of design, usually it's an orange cookie cutter with leaves that stick out. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. We're rocking the holes again to prevent craters. The left side leaf is hugging the edge of the cookie, but then the right one, just to give it a little more like sort of dimension, you can see it's not quite hugging the edge of the cookie. I don't know if you can see that from this angle, but I promise you it's not. And again, using that scribe, like this scribe comes so in handy to get the icing all the way to the corners. And then this is a design element, but it's also one that's sneaky. If you did get craters on your leaves anyway, this leaf, the line through it distracts you from any craters. So fun fact. This little doodad here is my favorite way to do texture, or one of my favorite ways to do texture on like an orange or a lemon. And what I've done here is I've taken my scribe and I've dipped it in the flood consistency. It's on like just a little dab on a paper towel off screen. And then I just dab, dab, dab. I like the fact that the dots are inconsistent in size, in shape. To me, that makes it look more realistic. And then there's a motif in this set where I had these little white orange blossom flowers. So I'm just adding one of those flowers to this. And this is just a soft peak that I'm just like squeezing the heck out of to get this flower. And then I'm going to add a little center dot. That's with the lighter orange and a soft peak. And there she blows. Okay, moving on. Again, outlined and flooded in white. Let this dry for at least 2 hours. What this is here is this is green gel food coloring, light leaf green that I add a little bit of yellow to because the green in this set is more on the yellow side because I added yellow to the icing. And then I've thinned this out with color solution. You do not want to use water because it can pit the icing as it dries. Not always, but you want to use something like color solution from the Sugar Art or what's that called? Or Everclear high proof vodka, something that's going to evaporate as it dries. This is a sweet little touch. So the idea here is to do this. It's supposed to channel gingham, either tablecloth or napkins, whatever. I just think this is actually one of the ringer favorites for me from this set. Like, it's simple and so precious. I've wanted to do that gingham for forever. So yay. Okay, this one again, outlined and flooded. Let that dry for like 1 to 2 hours. I used a scribe there just to mark off where I was going to do all of the flowers because I'm a very methodical person. So I wanted to do them in like an evenly spaced manner. But anyway, I don't know what I was saying with that. Okay, the dot, you can't really see it, but it's the center of each flower. This is just a soft peak that I am squeezing until I get the size circle I want and then releasing. Excuse me. And I just decided to do, like, I could have done this with that pressure piped, like teardrop, but it's easier this way. And also with a soft peak, doing that pressure pipe teardrop, like, unless it's a true soft peak, if it's a little too soft, it's going to kind of melt into each other, which is no bueno. You want to let those whites, the white icing, crust for just like 10 minutes to make sure that when you go in with the center color here, again, it's not going to just like melt into the flowers. And there we go. That's the sweet little orange blossom cookie. I love the contrast with the green background. It just makes me so happy. All right, so for this next one, I had already outlined and flooded again. You can see though I didn't outline all the way to the edge because we're going to do a cute little border, but if you don't like the border in this design, you could just outline all the way to the edge and just do this wet on wet design on the entire cookie, whatever floats your happy boat. This here, I'm going in to just make the oranges seem a little more whimsical instead of like harsh circles, if that makes sense. If you don't want to do this though, like you do not have to do whatever makes your heart happy. I'm just going in and I'm like taking the scribe and I'm just making circles. Nothing fancy. And then I'm going in immediately. This is all flood consistency, by the way. I kind of wish that I hadn't put the leaves all in the same spot. That was a little crusty bit of icing that got from my piping bag that got into the white icing. And then I'm using my scribe and I'm not cleaning it off because I like the messiness of being able to see some of the white in the leaf poles. This is the fourth way we're doing oranges in this set. And then I let that crust over for like at least 15 to 20 minutes. And this is just a simple dot border. This is the same white soft peak, and I'm just squeezing like a mad woman until I get the size dot I want, and then I release it. Sometimes I'm just so mesmerized. You can see I'm not lifting directly up. I'm actually flicking my wrist as I'm releasing the icing so that it kind of creates like just a little like swirl on the top instead of just lifting straight up. If you lift straight up with this size dot, you probably are going to get a little bit of a peak. You can either leave it alone or you can use a scribe to settle it, but I do the little flick because I cannot be bothered to settle icing. I just can't, okay? All right, this last design is the one that has the lettering on it. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to do the lettering cookies. You can if you want to. In this case, I mean, you could just do this kind of wreath thing, greenery, around the entire cookie, like do a full circle instead of just this half circle like I'm doing. And just call it a day. Like that can just be the entire design of the cookie. I am doing the little pressure piped, what is this called? Teardrop thing that I was doing earlier with the seeds. And just make sure, since you're using a soft peak, that you space out the leaves, that they aren't next to each other. Let that cross over for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I'm going in and I'm doing the oranges. This first one, I am going to add a little bit of a highlight to, just to like make it extra sweet and cute. But the rest of them are just going to be orange dots. They're also a lot smaller. And there's not a terrible rhyme or reason. I'm just trying to like place them so that the space looks filled in. All happy, hunky-dory. I did consider adding little white dots to that garland thing too for extra flowers, but I was like, I think it's busy enough. All right, so the lettering. I'm starting with the little cutie. I did get this lettering custom done by Arlena at Bossy Brushstrokes. She's a calligrapher, or I'm not sure if I'm calling her title correct. She's not a cookier, but she's like a lettering person. And I love her lettering. So am I doing it perfectly like she does it? No, because I'm freehanding it. But what it means is in the workbooks for the classes, there are 2 scale images of all of the lettering that you can print out, and you can practice on those first and then do it on the cookie. I prefer to teach I prefer to teach, I just lost my brain, free-handed lettering. However, just because that's what I prefer to do, there are two other techniques. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat today. There are two other techniques for lettering. I show you how to do the tissue paper technique in class, and then the third technique is a projector, which I do not show, and I have not used my projector in I don't know how long, a very long time. Little Cutie can be a baby shower, or it can be a little child's birthday. This comes from the phrase, our little cutie is one, I think. The next one, I'm not sure. Is this Let's Party? I think so. Yeah. So this is just like a general Let's Party. The lettering style I'm doing here is a pressure piped style, which is my personal favorite. It means that you squeeze harder on the downstroke and you release on the upstroke. I mean, you still have to pipe on the upstroke. You're not just like completely releasing pressure, but that's what gives you the thicker downstroke and the thinner upstroke. Now, in the ideal world, you have a beautiful soft peak. However, in my classes for lettering, I always say if you're unsure, always err on the thicker side, not the thinner side with your soft peak, because I would rather you have kind of a jagged downstroke than have your letters melt together. Because if your icing is too thin, your letters are going to melt together. You're not going to get any of that second layer crisscross stuff. If it is too thick, though, all that's going to happen is these downstrokes are just going to look a little lumpier. And I would much rather, like you can see here, my icing is definitely a little on the thicker side. But like I said, I always prefer that. So next up, we are rocking Miss to Mrs., which is a very common phrase in at least the cookie world for a bridal shower. I don't know what else to say here. For the styling of the lettering, I used both oranges for this, the light orange and the dark orange. The thickness of the tip of your bag is really important here. It's usually better to err on the smaller side because part of the key of the success with this lettering is the difference between the thickness of the downstroke and the upstroke. And if your bag is just like a little too thickly cut to begin with, it's going to make that a lot harder. And the letters here are actually pretty tight together. So having a smaller upstroke is going to make it easier to really make them tight. If that makes sense. Also, this particular one, that 2 is very small, like very small. Sidebar, R's, these cursive R's are my absolute favorite to do. I love it. It just flows so well. Makes me so happy. Speaking of happy, okay. I'm not going to lie, the spacing of this one was kind of challenging. Shoving happy birthday into a circle is not the easiest thing to do. My friend did suggest doing just happy B day, like B-D-E-A-Y, B-D-A-Y. But just B-Day just did not fit the aesthetic of like the classiness of this set, so I still shoved birthday in it. But if you just want to write B-Day, that's fine too. Again, whatever makes your heart happy. Whatever makes your heart happy. I personally like the customization and like the flexibility of the designs of this set, but I still keep getting a lot of requests for just like a traditional baby shower class. So I might just have to give in at some point and do a traditional baby shower class, which, sidebar, 2 of my best friends are pregnant right now. So I'm going to be making baby shower cookies this year for sure. So that'll be some good practice. When I was tasked with coming up with baby shower classes, I was like, how can I possibly come up with a universal theme that is going to apply to a lot of people? Like when I was doing the birthday class, I was grateful to at least come up with like, you know, basically a sprinkle theme. Like who doesn't like sprinkles? It's birthday. But these kinds of celebrations tend to have themes with them, and to come up with a class that like applies to the majority of people is really hard. So I had the little cutie, like from this round of classes, I did the little cutie, I did a bee party, and then I did a sports party. So you've got oranges, you've got bees, and you've got sports, which I don't know. To me, that seems like it covers a lot of bases. This last one, I think this is my oh baby. Yeah, I almost didn't include this. I think I sent a picture of this to my mom because I was like, Mom, does this look terrible? Yeah. Keep in mind that I only did one of each cookie. I think I did two little cuties, but everything else, I did this once on a cookie and I filmed it at the same time. So I am dying a little inside about my O. But I'm really hard on myself. That's one of the things I talk about a lot in class, especially when doing your hand lettering, is you gotta give yourself grace. And yes, pun intended. Because my name is Grace, by the way. Okay. You have to give yourself grace. This is not going to look perfect. It's not going to look the same every time. This is just what happens when you do hand lettering. If you're going to use a projector, you're going to be more precise every time. The tissue paper technique can be a little more precise, but it's not perfect either, in my opinion, which is why I just prefer to do hand lettering like this and call it a day. Okay, that is the entire set. This is my personal favorite from the launch of 7 classes I did this summer. It has not been the fan favorite, which makes me a little sad inside, not gonna lie. But I'm still gonna promote it as my favorite class because it just makes my heart so happy. The B class has been the favorite, maybe tied with the more advanced rainbow hearts, but I digress. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. As always, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a thing or two, and maybe you will even try the class yourself. Okay, love y'all. Bye!